91 years old. I want you to sit with that number for a second before I say another word. 91 years of mourning, 91 years of learning things the hard way, 91 years of calling people my friends who had no business holding that word. And I'm telling you right now, before we go any further, if someone does these 5 things to you, that person is not your friend, not a real one, not the kind that matters when the floor drops out from under your life. I've had hundreds of people pass through my years, hundreds, and I can count on one hand the ones who were actually there when there was nothing in it for them. That's the truth nobody prepares you for. Most people in your life are not your friends. They are your company. There's a difference so wide you could lose everything you love falling into it. My name is Magnolia Dorothia Sims, and I have been watching people show you exactly who they are my entire life. I just took too long to believe them. I grew up in a time when you didn't let go of people. You held on, you endured. You called it loyalty, when half the time it was just fear of being alone. And I am standing in my kitchen at 91 years old, bad hip and all, to tell you that the loneliness of a bad friendship is 10 times heavier than the loneliness of an empty room. So listen close, because I'm only going to say this once, and Lord knows I've paid enough to know it. The first thing, and hear me on this, if someone only comes to you when they need something and vanishes the moment you need something in return, that person is not your friend. They are using you. And the cruelest part is, they probably don't even know it. They don't think of themselves as takers. They think of you as a giver. And there's a difference. A giver is what they call you to make the taking feel natural, feel right, feel like that's just who you are, like the sun gives light, like the river gives water. You don't thank a river, you just come to it when you're thirsty and leave when you've had enough. I had a woman in my life for 37 years named Dolores. 37 years. We met at a church picnic in 1961, and that woman could make potato salad that would make you speak in tongues. We laughed together. We cried together. I drove her to chemotherapy twice a week for 8 months when her first husband passed from cancer. I sat in that waiting room with a crossword puzzle I never finished because I was too busy praying. When her second husband left her for a woman half her age, I let her sleep in my guest room for 6 weeks. I fed her. I listened. I put her back together piece by piece, the way you put together something broken and precious. Dolores called once, said she'd light a candle for us, said she was sure Renee would turn up. Renee did turn up. Thank God she was safe. Long story, not mine to tell. But I remember sitting in my living room the night after, shaken from relief and exhaustion both, and realizing that in the worst 3 days of my life, Dolores had lit a candle. And when I had surgery 2 years later, nothing life-threatening, gallbladder routine, but I was scared the way you get scared when they put you under and you don't know for certain you're coming back. Dolores sent a card with a Bible verse and a gift card to a grocery store. And I stared at that card for a long time, and then I thought of every meal I'd cooked her, every prayer I'd said over her, every hour I'd spent in plastic waiting room chairs smelling like hospital coffee and worry. And I thought, this is not friendship. This is a transaction where only one of us knows there's a ledger. They will tell you you're strong. That's the thing to watch for. The moment someone calls you strong when you're asking for help, they are not complimenting you. They are excusing themselves. They are saying you don't need me. And they are saying it kindly, so you can't argue. I heard that my whole life. Magnolia is strong. Magnolia can handle it. Magnolia always figures it out. And yes, I handled it. I always figured it out. But I did it alone when I shouldn't have had to. And the people who called me strong were the same people who showed up for every good time and disappeared during every hard one. Watch for that. It is not a compliment. It is an exit strategy. And I'm not talking about someone who raises their voice or calls you out your name. Those people are easy to walk away from. I'm talking about the quiet ones, the ones who correct you gently, the ones who give you advice wrapped in a smile that you never asked for, the ones who say you look wonderful and then pause just long enough for you to wonder if they're about to add a but. I had a neighbor for years, a woman I'll call Celestine, because that's close enough to her real name that she'd know, and far enough that her grandchildren won't. Celestine always knew better. Better than me about cooking, about raising children, about keeping a marriage, about which church had the better choir, about everything. She didn't yell. She didn't argue. She tilted her head and said things like, "Oh, that's one way to do it." Or, "I just find it interesting how you see that." And I would leave her house feeling like I'd failed some test I didn't know I was taking. My late husband, Hosea, God rest that man, Hosea noticed before I did. He was quiet in the way that still water is quiet, deep and watching. One afternoon, Celestine had come for coffee and spent 40 minutes suggesting ways I could rearrange my living room for better light. And when her car pulled out of my driveway, Hosea stood in the kitchen doorway and said, "That woman comes here to feel better about herself, not to be with you." And I said, "She means well." And Hosea said, "Meaning well is for mistakes. What she does is on purpose, even if she doesn't know it." I changed my outfit before seeing Celestine. That's how I knew it had gone too far. I would stand in my bedroom and hear her voice in my head before she'd even opened her mouth. And one day I was running late, and I looked in the mirror and I was 68 years old, and I had been getting dressed for another woman's opinion for longer than I could count. And I stopped right there, put on what I wanted, went anyway. When she made a comment, I smiled and said, "I know." When I like it, and something in me came back to life that afternoon. Something quiet and stubborn that I had let sleep too long. But leaving Celestine didn't fix everything overnight. The damage those kinds of people do, it gets into you. It lives in the small moments. I'd reach for something in a store and hesitate. I'd share an opinion and then apologize for it before anyone responded. Rebuilding yourself after someone has spent years slowly dismantling your confidence, that takes longer than the friendship did. Far longer. Some mornings I still caught myself filtering my words through a voice that wasn't even in the room anymore. It takes time to evict someone from the inside of your own mind. But you can do it. I did it. The third thing. And Lord, this is the one that kept me up the longest. If someone cannot celebrate your good news without finding the shadow in it, that person is not your friend. And this is the cruelest one because they still show up. They still smile. They still bring the casserole. But the moment something wonderful happens to you, they find the one crack in the light. My granddaughter Shanice was accepted to a graduate program. After years of sacrifice and setbacks and more tears at my kitchen table than I can count, I was so proud my hands were shaking when she called me. I called my longtime friend, a woman I'll call Yvette, because we had been through decades together. And I said, "Yvette, Shanice got in." And there was a pause. You learn to hear those pauses when you're old. They carry more weight than words. And Yvette said, "Oh, that's wonderful. Those programs are brutal, though. I just hope she's ready for that kind of pressure." And I felt the air go out of me. Because Yvette did not say, "Magnolia, your granddaughter did it." She did not say, "After everything that child went through, look at her now." She went straight for the doubt. She planted it right in the middle of my joy like a stake in the ground. And for 2 days I worried instead of celebrated. 2 days of Shanice's victory stolen by one sentence from a woman who smiled when she said it. That is the most precise kind of harm there is. It leaves no fingerprints. It looks like concern. It sounds like wisdom, but it is theft. Yvette did this every time something good came my way. Every time. When Hosea and I renewed our vows on our 40th anniversary, she said, "Isn't that sweet? Second weddings are so much more relaxed." When I told her I'd started painting, something I took up in my 70s just to give my hands something to do and my heart somewhere to go, she said, "Oh, my cousin tried that. It's wonderful, even for people who aren't naturally artistic." You hear that? Even for people who aren't naturally artistic. She didn't say it to hurt me, or maybe she did and didn't know it, but I felt it. And I stopped telling Yvette good news after that, which meant I stopped sharing my life with her. And if you cannot share your life with someone, what exactly are you holding on to? The fourth thing, and this one hides the longest because it wears the face of friendship almost perfectly. If someone shares your private matters with others, that person is not your friend, not your secrets exactly. Sometimes it is nothing that dramatic. Sometimes it is just the small confidences. The thing you mentioned quietly, in a low moment, that you weren't ready for the world to hold. I had a woman in my circle I will call Vera. Vera was warm. Vera remembered your birthday. Vera asked about your grandchildren by name and seemed to genuinely want to know. And for a long time I mistook that warmth for safety. The moment I understood what Vera was, I was standing in my friend Ada's kitchen on a Thursday afternoon. Ada mentioned, soft and careful like she was handling something fragile, that she had heard about the trouble my son Marcus was going through at the time. A situation I had told exactly one person. I remember the way the light was coming through Ada's curtains, the smell of the coffee she'd just set down, and the way my stomach dropped like a stone through still water. I smiled. I said, "Oh, word gets around." And I drove home with my hands steady on the wheel, and something permanently shifted in my chest. I never told Vera another true thing after that day. Not one. And I noticed something. Without the intimacy to carry elsewhere, she had less reason to call. She drifted. And that told me everything I needed to know about what our friendship had actually been built on. Some people hold your private life loosely, not always out of malice, out of a need to be interesting. Your pain becomes their conversation. Your struggle becomes their story. Your confidence becomes the currency they spend for connection with other people. You have a right to your own story. You have a right to decide who holds which parts of it. And anyone who does not understand that they are a guest in your private life, not the narrator of it, is not someone you can trust. And friendship without trust is just familiarity. And familiarity can look like love for a very long time before you find out it isn't. The fifth thing, and I want you to lean in for this one because it is the quietest and the most dangerous. If someone cannot apologize, cannot admit fault, cannot sit with you in the discomfort of having hurt you, that person is not your friend. I am not talking about someone who makes mistakes. Lord knows we all do. A person who makes mistakes is just a person. I am talking about the ones who, when they have hurt you, find a way to make your hurt the problem. Who say, "I'm sorry you feel that way," or "you're too sensitive," or who go quiet and wait for you to pretend it didn't happen because they know you will, because you always have. I knew a man like this, a friendship, one of those long ones you keep out of habit. His name was Clarence, charming, funny, the kind of man who could hold a room with a story. But in 40 years of knowing Clarence, I never once heard him say, "I was wrong," without a "but" attached to the back of it. Always a pivot. Always a reason why really, if you thought about it, you had misunderstood. Looking for the place where my pride had caused the problem. That is what happens when someone refuses to own what they have done. The accountability doesn't disappear. It just moves. It settles on you. You carry it for them. What an apology actually does is give you back to yourself. It says your hurt was real. Your hurt mattered to me more than my need to be without fault. The people who cannot do that are not always bad people, but they are not safe people. And a friendship where you are never safe to be hurt is not a friendship. It is a performance, and you have been doing all the rehearsing. I let those friendships go, not with fights, not with speeches, just with silence and distance and a slow closing of a door that had been open far too long. And yes, for a while the world got very quiet. My phone rang less. My Sundays had too much space in them. And the voice that lives in your doubt, you know the one, it said, "You're too old to start over, too particular, too alone." But here is what I learned on the other side of all that quiet, and I need you to hear this part. Being alone is not the same as being lonely. I was lonelier at a full table with the wrong people than I have ever been in my own kitchen, with just my tea and my thoughts and the sound of the birds outside my window. After Hosea passed, a young woman from down the street started checking on me. Her name was Portia. Couldn't have been more than 32. She knocked on my door one afternoon with a container of rice and stewed chicken and said, "I made extra. Would you like some?" She hadn't made extra. She'd made it for me. And she didn't comment on my house or my choices, or how I was handling my grief. She sat down when I asked her to, and she listened the way people listen when they actually want to hear. when I showed her my watercolor paintings, the shaky little things I did of flowers and birds and the oak tree in my backyard. She looked at them the way you look at something someone made with love and effort. And she said, "These are yours. Not good, not bad, not compared to anything or anyone, yours." And I cried. I'm not ashamed to say it, because no one had looked at something I created and simply let it belong to me in a very long time. When I fell in my bathroom 3 years ago and lay on that cold tile floor, staring at the ceiling, too proud and too stubborn to call it a crisis, I didn't tell my daughter. I didn't tell my son. I told Portia, because I knew she wouldn't make it a referendum on my independence. She came over, put down those rubber bath mats with the suction cups without a word about why, sat at my kitchen table and said, "Can I have a spare key? Not because you need me to have it, because I'll sleep better knowing I can check on you." She made it about her comfort, not my weakness. And that is the kind of love that is so precise it almost breaks you open. I have fewer friends now than I did at 50. Far fewer. But every single one of them has seen me at my worst and stayed. Every one of them would sit in silence with me in a waiting room. Every one of them celebrates when something good happens to me without finding a fingerprint to put on my joy. Every one of them holds what I tell them like something that belongs to me, not material to carry elsewhere. And every one of them, when they have hurt me, has looked me in the eye and said so. So here are your 5 things, and I want you to hold them like medicine, because that's what they are. If someone only shows up when they need you and disappears when you do, that is not your friend. If someone makes you feel smaller every time you leave them, that is not your friend. If someone cannot share your happiness without smudging it, that is not your friend. If someone carries your private life to other people, that is not your friend. If someone cannot be wrong, cannot apologize, cannot sit inside the discomfort of having hurt you, that is not your friend. Now go through your life honestly. Ask yourself, when I needed them, were they there? When I am around them, do I leave feeling like more of myself or less? When something good happens to me, do they celebrate, or do they find the shadow? Do they protect what I share with them? And when they hurt me, do they own it? If those answers hurt, if you are feeling that weight right now in your chest, you already know the truth. You have probably known it for years. You just didn't give yourself permission to act on it. So here it is. Permission from a 91-year-old woman with a bad hip and paint-stained hands and more years of hard-won wisdom than she ever asked for. A good friend doesn't bring the heat. You are allowed to let go. You are allowed to want more than leftovers. You are allowed to have a life where the people around you make you feel like the house is warm just by being in it. After all these years, it is warm.